Hi, everybody. Welcome back. It's Heather with Reflecting Inward Life Coaching. And today we are continuing our series on the 26 common mental mistakes. Today we are talking about magnification. This comes from Dr. Aldo Pucci's Feel the Way You Want to Feel No Matter What. Okay, so magnification. I don't know about you, but for me, for many years, I struggled with the idea of the worst case scenario. So when you have a situation coming up or a decision to make, sometimes it can be kind of hard because if we've been trained this way, the worst case scenario is constantly going through our mind and we're constantly trying to figure out what we would do in this worst case scenario. And again, it's another survival technique our brain initiates in order for us to avoid pain, fear, disappointment, and such. So this discussion hopefully will help you with this idea of the worst case scenario, because magnification is, in essence, making the potential negative aspects of a situation much bigger, like making mountains out of molehills, right? And it's minimizing the potential good possibilities because, again, focusing on the negative and the fear helps us to avoid the pain and uncertainty of the negative aspects that may come of it. So magnification is exaggerating the importance of a shortcoming and minimizing the importance of a good quality. So this has to do really with like how we think about ourselves, how we value ourselves. Do we look at the little things and create, again, assumptions, right? Creating assumptions about what others will think about us based upon how we view our shortcomings. And do we just completely ignore the good things about ourselves? And again, because this slideshow was initially made for educators to train them on how to handle adolescents who go through the many crises they do with the 26 common mental mistakes. Again, our examples are going to be specifically geared toward adolescents, the trials that they may have during that time period. However, this one I think could very easily apply to everyone because we live in a society that values people and that judges people based upon their appearance, whether it be the clothes they wear, the way they do their makeup or don't wear makeup. And yes, today I'm going natural just for this. And unfortunately, this physical appearance of our physical world has become so important that people have began to value themselves specifically based upon the views and expectations of society and physical appearance, which is constantly changing. And some people do something about that. They have perhaps many surgeries in order to make them appear younger and younger as they age, or to give them appearance of what they believe will get them more acceptance and value. I'm not saying that everyone who undergoes elective surgery does it for that reason. I'm just saying because we live in a society that has so much emphasis on this, that's a potential possibility for those who do it. And so hopefully this particular video will help those of you who are struggling a little bit with this belief that you need to look like a certain something to be acceptable and to be loved and valuable. Okay, so this example, again, a teenage young lady thinking to herself, or maybe saying to a friend, "Oh, this pimple is huge. He'll never ask me to the dance." Okay. And again, this is assumption that he'll never ask me to the dance because of a pimple. We're really, in a sense, we're judging the other person as well when we have an example like this. If we feel like we're going to be rejected because of something, in particular, in this example, our physical appearance, we're also judging the other person. If you think about it, we're saying this other person has specific expectations and intentions. And if we don't know them well enough, again, that's jumping to conclusions, an assumption an expectation of that person based upon the way that our culture, society, whoever, religion, family has trained us to view the world and how the world views us. Okay. So again, this whole series is basically about how we've been trained by our environments and how we can retrain ourselves to see the situation from a more clear standpoint instead of just automatically following what our brain tells us the expectations and assumptions of the world are for us. Okay, so let's take a look at this because it's talking about a relationship and assumptions and beliefs about other people's views of us. We're going to go through a series of questions. And these questions, honestly, they pretty much all end up with the same answer. It's just a variety of ways of asking ourselves because sometimes the way a question is asked really has a larger impact on the way we view the situation and handle it. So here are a variety of questions to look at, to think rationally about this situation and how to handle it. Okay, so first of all, you need to ask yourself what your goals are. If the goal is just to go to the dance, it doesn't matter who asks you, right? If your goal is to go dance with a specific person, then whether or not they ask you has more to do with them and their perceptions of the world. So now let's look at, okay, what kind of person, what kind of headspace do I want the person I want to go to the dance with to have about me? Okay. Do I want this person to ask me to a dance if he's the kind of person who's going to reject me at the first sign of a pimple? So we're dating, things are going great, wonderful, happy, happy, happy. But as soon as I do get a pimple, he breaks up with me. Okay. Now, I know some of you are thinking, oh, well, you're thinking of the worst case scenario. And you said, we're not doing that. I'm only doing this because we're looking at our goals. Okay. So if our goal is to date a shallow guy, then, hey, then this pimple would be a problem. This pimple would be a problem if we really, really want to date this guy and he's a shallow guy, so he wouldn't accept me with the pimple. Then yes, the pimple is going to be a problem. But if you don't want to date a shallow guy, and I'm hoping that you don't, I'm hoping that you see how valuable you are and know that you are worthy and valuable enough to have a person who loves you genuinely, sincerely, authentically for who you authentically are, then keep going. Keep going. Even if you have this pimple may be an excellent test, basically, to say, oh, well, he wasn't worth it because he looked at my pimple, he couldn't stop staring at it, and then he just didn't ask me. Whether or not that's the reason he didn't ask you, we're not going to worry about it. All we know is he didn't ask me. Okay. So maybe this is an opportunity to just kind of weed out those guys who you're not interested in. And take a look at what I just said. We're not sitting back and waiting for a boy to accept us. We're saying my goal is to have a mature young man who's not shallow enough to reject me for a pimple. And I just decided that this person is not the kind of person I want to be with. I decided because I know what my goals are. We're not sitting back and waiting to be rejected. And I hope that we're not seeing that we ourselves are rejecting them. We just have goals. And if the goals don't match, we're just not a good match for each other. It's all there is to it. Our goals aren't meeting each other right now. Okay, so will this really impede me from reaching my goal of dating a mature guy? Okay, since I know my goal is to date a mature guy, is this pimple going to keep me from reaching my goal of dating a mature guy? Does it really impact me the way I think it does? So another way of saying that is, if he's mature, will he really not ask me out because of a pimple? What impact do my strengths have on the situation? Okay, so for those of you who are not familiar with the VIA character strengths, I'll show you exactly where to take that assessment. It's free in a moment. So let me get through this example really quick. So if he's mature, he will like me for my zest, humor, and kindness. Okay, these are 3 of the 24 VA character strengths. And if this is the first time you're hearing about it, let me show you where to find them. So from my homepage, this is reflectinginward.org, the homepage. If you come to the top and click on free resources, and then you click on self-discovery, because all of the self-assessments, all of the character strengths and personality assessments are all under self-discovery resources. Okay, so click on self-discovery, and then it's right to the top here, via character strengths. Click on it, and then let me show you what they are really quickly. The 24 character strengths, which have subcategories of, right here I'm looking, wisdom, courage, humanity, justice, temperance, and transcendence, okay? And then these are the 24 character strengths, and you answer questions, and then it puts them in order for you so that you see what your top strengths are. And, you know, the ones toward the bottom are ones that maybe you could work on if you find them valuable to work on right now. So one of the ones that the young lady expressed was zest. So let's go to zest here. It's under courage. And an example of it is, I feel vital and full of energy. I approach life feeling activated and enthusiastic. Okay, so just for example purposes, I am going to come back. Let's see, zest, humor, and kindness. Let's go to humor. Humor. Transcendence. I approach life playfully, making others laugh and finding humor in difficult and stressful times. And there's something I do want to bring up about this one, because finding humor in difficult and stressful times. The last psychologist or therapist, actually, I went to before healing my inner child and not really seeing the need to have one anymore, he pointed out that whenever he asked a question about something, I would kind of brush it off and chuckle and laugh, try to make it a playful interaction. And at one point he said, why do you think you do that? And I was like, what do you mean? He's like, why do you think you try to make light of it and laugh about it and everything? And I just kind of was like, I don't know. And turns out he was a very wise young man, and he took a pause and he shared something with me about his life. And it got me to really sober up a bit and to have a bit of compassion for him, because what he was sharing with me was something vulnerable. And he then said, sometimes we create a face, or we create an interaction, and it tends to be lighthearted or humorous, because it's kind of a technique that we use, like a wall that we use to shield us so that we don't need to be vulnerable and perhaps show a part of ourselves that may create vulnerability, create an opportunity for someone to hurt us. And at that time, I was going to see him after being in a relationship with a narcissist. And so I did have some walls up. I did have a bit of fear of letting people in. And he was very wise to have shared that with me, because he allowed himself to share something vulnerable, which allowed me to have compassion and to be in the headspace and the heart space to be vulnerable with him. And so I wanted to mention this, even though it seems off topic, because sometimes do we find humor in difficult and stressful times because it's kind of our defense mechanism, and that helps us stay in our comfort zone? Or are we doing it because, we don't really need to, but we find that it's helpful in the situation? So, humor and then kindness. And I only brought that up because I think we're all here mostly to take a good look at ourselves and to see what challenges might be keeping us from reaching our full potential. What thoughts and beliefs do we have, right? So if that's our goal, then hopefully my mentioning something like this would resonate with some of you, and it would give you an opportunity to look inside and ask yourself, am I putting up a block that allows me to stay in my comfort zone and not be vulnerable, because being emotionally vulnerable could be a trap, you know? If that's the case and we want to overcome that and have healthy relationships, especially with romantic partners, for a long-term healthy relationship, that we can feel confident that if we were to have children within that relationship, those children would have the support they need emotionally from us, then I'm hoping that this discussion is helpful to you. Okay. Kindness was the last one. It's under humanity, and an example would be, I am helpful and empathetic and regularly do nice favors for others without expecting anything in return. Again, for this one, I would perhaps talk to the young lady, or anyone who has this characteristic and this particular problem of the fear of being rejected for this pimple or physical appearance in general. I am helpful and empathetic and regularly do nice favors for others without expecting anything in return. Are we doing the nice favors without thinking we're expecting anything in return? But perhaps what we're really expecting in return is acceptance, is love, is to feel like we're important and that they're going to give us attention that we need because we're serving them, we're doing something for them. Are you doing it because you feel that as a result of it, they will love you more, they will accept you more? Okay. And this is where being very confident and not needing someone else's acceptance becomes extremely important when it comes to romantic relationships. So this young lady who wants to have a mature relationship with a young man who is who sees beyond the pimple, who sees the strengths that she has and values her personally, her authentic self. If that is her goal, then she probably would also need to look inside and say, am I doing this because I don't need other people's acceptance? And I would kind of question that a bit, because she's needing their acceptance of her physical appearance. So why am I serving or doing kindness to others if I'm not afraid of being rejected? If being rejected by them is okay, because it just helps me to meet my own goals better in this particular case. So I'm hoping this video was helpful to you. And if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out, send me a message, email, maybe give a call. And I'd be happy to have a free one-on-one coaching session with you to help you through whatever it is that you're finding challenging right now. I love you. You are invaluable. I can't wait to see all of the wonderful things that you do as you go through your own healing process and you start applying your wonderful value to the things that you want to achieve in your life. I hope you have a wonderful day, and I will see you soon.